Now, continuing from the tutorial that I have been conducting on using the device simulation solution accelerator to generate data, to stream that data to an IoT hub, and then subsequently have created a time series insights environment that is connected to that IoT hub. I now want to spend a few minutes to walk through how you can build a reference data set that will enable you to do some really powerful things with time series insights. Now, reference data is useful for two primary reasons. One reason is to contextualize data that is already streaming into time series insights. So, for example, you might put the location of a device, the operator of a device, or even something like the threshold at which a particular device's sensor might be exceeding some integer that you wouldn't necessarily want it to exceed. And so with reference data, you can actually store this data in time series insights, designate a key value property, and when we see a message that maps to that key, we will actually join all the reference data you've stored with us, including that powerful information like the location, and we will store that data and index it with the telemetry data, thus enabling you to be able to query based on all of these unique columns that you've added in this reference data table. Now, the second benefit of all of this is that it also makes you much more efficient in terms of how you send messages over the wire and into something like an Azure IoT Hub. If you have redundant properties, or if you have these static properties that would repeat normally with every message that was sent from a device, you can actually reconfigure those devices or the gateways to not send those properties, so you can save those bytes, and you can actually use reference data within time series insights such that you now don't have to send those bytes over the wire, saving you money on data transfer costs in terms of data flowing through other services within Azure, etc. Now, as of June of 2018, we're currently working on building out a new feature, which we're currently referring to as time series models. It's not available publicly today, but in short, we expect our reference data to get much more powerful as we progress through 2018. So stand by for more details there. Now, in this short tutorial, I just want to quickly walk through how you can take a reference data. Now, in this tutorial, I quickly want to walk through how you can take data that's streaming into time series insights, export it into an Excel workbook, and actually build your own reference data set in real time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to look at the data I've got on my screen. I'm going to right click, I'm going to explore events. And what I will see is all of the underlying raw events for this particular selection. Now I'm going to select all the columns. I will export this as a CSV. And very quickly, I have this CSV workbook. I am going to open it in Excel, which is my tool of choice. And as you'll notice, I have a variety of columns that correspond to the underlying data. Now, the first thing I want to do is I just want to familiarize myself with which column is both my timestamp property, that special property, as well as the device ID, or the key property value that I care about. Now, I'm able to see that the IoT Hub connection device ID is the actual key value. This is the chiller itself. And then today, we use the IoT Hub creation time /UTC as the timestamp property. So I certainly want to save this device ID. Now, any of these properties that are dynamic, I don't need. So the current humidity is not something that I would ever use for reference data, or it's very unlikely I would. And some of these properties might not be useful right now. So I know I can go and I can remove a variety of these properties from this data set. What I really want is I want the key value property, which is this IoT Hub connection device ID. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to upload some properties of my own. Now, because these are messages, I've got some redundancy in terms of the device IDs. So I want to remove these duplicates. So I will just have Excel help me with that. And sure enough, I have 601 unique values that remain. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to take a reference data set that I've already built and I want to join these properties. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to take the reference data I've built in a different table, and I'm just going to go, copy, and I am going to paste that in here. And so what you'll notice is that I've added headers of manufacturer, factory, humidity threshold, station, and line. And I've got some variability in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this workbook. I'm going to save it as a CSV. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this particular data set. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to upload this as reference data. So if I go up to the environment itself, I can go and click Manage Environment Reference Data. As I go in, what you'll notice is I have the ability to add a data set. It's showing that there's no reference data today. And I could go, and if I wanted to, I could paste in CSV headers, and I could paste in the subsequent information. Similarly, I could paste in a JSON array. In this case, I'm going to Browse. And you'll notice I can go to that reference data table I just built. And if you look at this, what you'll see is I now have the ability to see all the data. It's in clean rows and columns. The first thing I need to do is I need to make sure I get my primary key right. So in this case, it is right. It's the IoT App Connection Device ID. If I wanted to have a composite key, I could. In this case, I'm going to choose nothing. And then I can choose to have it be case sensitive or case insensitive. In this case, I'm going to leave it as case sensitive. And I can call this Contoso ref data. And what I will do is I will upload these 600 rows. And from here, I now have the ability to update these. I can update them in bulk. I can delete from here. So all CRUD operations I can now perform. And what's powerful is that when I go back to the time series insights environment, and by clicking on analytics, I'll be dropped right back in where I was. As data streams in, I'll have the ability to see those new columns joined with events based on the key value property as they stream in. And now what I can do to confirm that is if I refresh the page and I go to, I'll just go to the last few minutes, what I can do is I can actually look at the split buys and I can see those properties I just joined with my telemetry data: factory, line, manufacturer. These correspond in split buys to the string properties, but you can see that they're there. And so in this case, if I wanted to, I could look at by factory, and you'll see that I've got some that they don't have a factory. I've got Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Napa, San Diego. I could go one step further and I can actually split this series now by, say, the line. So now I can see within the San Diego factory what my events were by line. I can look at things like humidity per line, and I can start to actually see some really cool things associated with this environment. So this is just a small taste of how you can start to contextualize your data with reference data. I could also do this using a C# app and do it programmatically with Azure Resource Manager. But what's really powerful is that if I didn't have a reference data set, I'm able to create one very quickly. I can use the device IDs corresponding to a solution accelerator, and I can start to make this data my own, making it feel more real and enabling me to very quickly go from something that might feel like a foreign proof of concept to something that actually feels like where my devices are, what my things are, and use taxonomy and vocabulary associated with how I think about the things in my world. What's more, all of this data is stored, it's queryable, and I can even start to bake this into my own application if I want to, using something like Time Series Insights JavaScript control library, which we'll address in another video. So thanks for watching this video, and thanks for using the product.